Hello, everyone. It is me. I'm a nerd politics, and today I want to talk about election stuff again. Kind of getting into the rhythm of what I do best. Um, Election polls have dramatically been different, and as I've discussed before, they tend to go more democratically, like huge democratic upvotes. I suppose during August, around the time before the election happens, like August and September, the polls explode. And being that there hasn't been a debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, possibly RFK Jr., but I doubt it. Um, there's not really a base. There's not really a way of saying who's the best candidate. Um, but of course, it was just came recently that Kamala Harris went to a rally and plagiarized and stole one of Trump's promising policies for the 2024 election. Trump promised that there would be no taxing on tips because I know it personally. I have my own story about it. We all know that the whole taxing on tips is the biggest amount of bullshit ever. And I have my own little story about it. I went to the gym, and I got out of the gym. Like I work out for like 2 hours and such, right? I know, hard to believe for me, right? But I go with a friend, and we go to this Mexican restaurant. Santiago's was the place, and I go there, a little small Santiago's, not like a big one or anything. I walk in there. I get two Mexican hamburgers, one for my friend and one for me, and I pay because I'm the nice guy. And I paid what I believe was $35. I don't have the receipt like right next to me or anything, but I paid $35, and I think I gave like a $15 tip, which I over tipped, but it's all right. I got the money. I really don't have the money, but I had the money on that day. So I gave a $15 tip to this one lady who's working there, just doing her job. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I wonder what, because a $15 tip is really good, but how much are they going to get taxed out of, $15? Because, I would like to live in a world and believe that half of 15 is taken, half of the 15 is taken, given to the owner, and the other half is given to you. It's not even close. More than 50% of your taxes are taken away from you. If I got a $5 tip, chances are I'm seeing about $1.80 of it, right? Because it's taken. It's taxed the hell out of. So with that story, I was like, yeah, if Trump did that, make people's lives a lot more better. Not only would they be making better tips and money, but we'd be living in a society where you only need one job to fluctuate in a society which right now you need three jobs, no car. You would have to be riding a bicycle to save on gasoline, and have to be maybe renting a place. Like the economy's screwed. Um, you could say an electric vehicle, but I've always been against electric vehicles. I think they're not good for the environment. I know the lithium ion batteries and the manufacturing for them are horrible, horrible things, creating craters in the earth. Really, just a horrible thing. Um, but you know, Kamala Harris is Kamala Harris is saying all these things like no taxes on tips. We're gonna go back to a society where you only need one job to work, and it's all because of me because I didn't plagiarize for sure, right? Because the whole thing is that's not what Kamala Harris used to be. That's not who she thought. Kamala Harris is known as the number one most progressive socialist, more than Bernie Sanders, more than Pelosi. I'm sorry, but I will say this because I believe it's true. Socialism is a good idea on paper to have all things equal, have things privated, but for the most part, your pay is equal, this is equal, everything. But how it's structured out amongst every person who has to abide by it, it doesn't make sense. It's not feasible. We know that's true because Russia's failed to be communist, or communism has never actually been achieved by a country. It's never been achieved to be socialist. China's not been accomplishing socialism. No country that has said, I'm going to be communist, I'm going to be socialist, has done it and been successful with it. It's good on paper to say, oh yeah, united healthcare, everyone has free healthcare. And I can make my own video about it, but the whole thing is, what's good on paper a lot of the times isn't good to go plan through without having laws in state that say what is good and what is not, I suppose. And Kamala Harris, she's known as being an attorney from San Francisco. She's known to be very socialist. She wants to defund the police. I'm sorry. Defunding the police only allows for more criminal activity. It's true. She wants more illegal immigrants in this country, more than there is currently. There's over 15 million right now. Highest it's ever been, ever. Ever. And 110 years ago, we had a lot of immigrants come into this country from all over the place, from into New York, but it was never 15 million. It was never nearly as high as 15 million. In 4 years, we have had 15 million illegal immigrants come into this country, and it's only increasing, and it's only going to increase if Kamala Harris wins the election. Now, the only backbone Kamala Harris has is a liar for political gain, Tim Walz. Tim Walz, another progressive socialist who I believe will also destroy the country. He's already destroyed his home governing state, which is Minnesota. His home state is Nebraska, but we all know that Nebraska's not going for him. But Tim Walz has let his own people in his governing state in Minnesota burn their city and structural infrastructure and kill innocent people, burn everything down, burn their state down, all because of an act of violence caused by a police officer on George Floyd. And, I will tell you this. What happened to George Floyd was unacceptable. There is bad cops and there are good cops. And those that are bad cops need to understand what they are doing their job for. It is not for gain. It is not to seem like, oh, I'm the innocent one here. Kill everyone else. Hurt everyone else. No. There's obviously, there is a gain some police have that has interests in gains, and others want to help society. Defunding the police only means more criminal activity. I don't have a background on George Floyd that says that he was this mastermind criminal, and I guarantee he really wasn't. What they did to him that killed him was wrong and immoral. Not right. Not right at all. I will say that. The thing is, telling your people to vandalize, to burn down buildings, to kill other innocent people, and to riot to ways that are unimaginable and unethical is, to me, immoral and wrong and disgusting, and that is not something as a governor that you should look at and say that, hey, our country's doing great, my governing state is doing great, and everyone's having a nice old time. Because it's not. In 2022, he only got 52% of voters to be on his side. He almost lost, okay? He's not even favored in Minnesota. But he's still a bit more of a backbone to support and gain followers for Kamala Harris. In fact, 60% of African American women are voting for Kamala Harris. 40% of African American men are voting for Donald Trump. I don't know what the difference is in that kind of category, But I know that this is coming to be another 2016 like election where a woman who everyone's looking at as praising, like, oh my God, a woman for president. Yes, yes. She's not a good politician. Let's remember how she got the job, okay? How she became a politician in the first place was giving some inappropriate thing, doing some stuff under the table, similar to Bill Clinton back in the '90s. Let's just do she was doing a Lewinsky on us, and she got the job, right? Like that's how she got into politics. She was a worker at McDonald's before she became an attorney. I mean, for God's sakes, is that the person you really want in the White House? Seriously? Um, and I just, it blows my mind that people are willing to vote for her and the polls are exploding in her favor because now she wants to steal what Trump says. And I find it weird that Trump's, campaign gets hacked and then Kamala says all this stuff that she's going to do. It's almost as if it was planned by her. But I want to put the safe states out, and I know the safe states out. Most of it is going to be the West here, and the majority here of Nebraska. Most of the West here is going to go on Donald Trump's side for sure. I can guarantee it. Not that. God forbid. And Ohio because J.D. Vance. I'd also like to put Texas and Florida to be safe states. I think we can agree on that for sure. And then the safe states for the Democrats here, a lot of these socialists. I found out that California got hit with like a 5.4 magnitude earthquake and a 4.4 magnitude earthquake, days after. I think they're in for some trouble, man. I think they're in for just karma, I really think. I'd say the 2nd District of Nebraska, as well as 1st District of Maine, and most of the East here, I could say without a doubt, will vote easily Democratic, especially DC and Hawaii. I think that's easy to say here. And then I'd say likely here is Maine's 2nd District. I'd say that Nevada is likely here. And a lot Nevada, I think, is almost strong Republican, but you can never be too sure. I have the 538 polls right here, actually. They say Wisconsin that Harris is up 9%. I almost want to say that is such baloney. I want to say that's baloney because Trump was leading at like 4%, only a month ago, and now it's at 9% for Harris. Some ain't cooking right. Some ain't making much more sense. Because you're going to tell me that this red going wall is now flipping the book, flipping the pages, and saying, nope, I'm back to the blue wall. I don't believe you. I really don't believe you. I know that's what the polls say, but it was at 4%. I'm almost willing to say, I'm willing to say it's, okay, will you just work? I'm saying that it's most likely because of the rally that happened in Milwaukee and such, and a couple, that influenced a lot. That it's more than likely going to direct towards the Republicans. I just feel that way. I'd say that Colorado is a likely Democratic state. I'd say Illinois is a likely Democratic state. I'd say New York is a likely Democratic state, even. I'd say New Hampshire is likely Democrat. They've always been a very weird swing state. They either go far left or far right. I'd say Maine as a whole leans more in the direction of being Democratic. So I'm going to put it as that. I'd say New Mexico is going to lead in that direction. Again, Kamala Harris is stronger in the Latino and a little bit in the African American vote, only by the women accounting for, not so much for for men accounting for. If that makes sense. So then I want to look here. Pennsylvania, it says 45-41. I'd believe that a little bit more. If they pick Shapiro, I'd believe Kamala Harris would actually probably win Pennsylvania. I'm still going off of the fact that Trump nearly getting killed inspired a lot more Republicans to vote in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to say it's at the wire where it's too close to call and that it's a possibility. But, we're still working on it. And then Michigan is looking at 46 and 40, 6 more points, which is insane. And I do think Harris gets more African American votes just based off of women's side more than men's side. I'm going to put her at the wire that it's too close to call, but it is a possibility. That's what I'm going to put it as, just because I want to be more accurate to voters. The polls are never going to be accurate. Let's be fair here. If you go out and just vote, I guarantee you'll find yourself being more trustworthy, if you believe it. So the general election, it says, is at 47% for Harris, a 3-point increase. In other places like the New York Times, it's leading by like 0.5% for Harris. In some, it's leading by like 17, like something outrageous. And then, some others are Donald Trump leading. The favorability rate for Trump has decreased. And I'd say the only reason because of that is because there hasn't been a debate yet. That's kind of the thing I look at it as. I'd say right now, let me get that fixed there. Virginia is leading in the direction of Democratic. I don't think this is going to be another like at the wire election like 2016 was, or even 2020 was. I'd say that, Arizona is leading in that direction of Republican. I haven't seen any much changes, not to my awareness. Similarly with South Carolina, I'd say, in the direction North Carolina is going to go Republican. And Georgia is a little bit weird because Georgia was Democratic in 2020 by false voting. I'm going to go say that Georgia's leading more Republican like it was in 2016. And that really lives Tim Walz. Can Tim Walz carry his governing state? He can't carry it. He was at 52% in 2022. I guarantee he's not passing 50% just because he runs with Harris. And Kamala Harris, I don't know if she can be a backbone to save Minnesota. I know Minneapolis is a huge Democratic, lead for Democrats to win the state. But in 2016, it was a narrow win for Hillary Clinton to win Minnesota. In 2020, Joe Biden kind of won it more, not by a landslide, but by enough to where it was leaning more Democratic. But over the years, we've seen that Minnesota has progressively become more Republican over the years. And as I've addressed about in my previous video that has surprisingly over 20,000 views, and that's pretty crazy, is that Minnesota, again, hasn't been a Republican state since 1972. And it would come to a surprise that a Republican candidate wins Minnesota. And over the years, since 1972, it's gotten more Democratic, but then it has gotten more Republican. And for those reasons, I'm still going to put it at the wire, that it is too close to call, but I believe that Minnesota can go Republican the same way that Pennsylvania could still go Republican, the same way Michigan could still go Republican. But of course, that's just what the polls give me, so I'm going to give you a fair idea of the most important states right here and, how they really, change this election. Because remember, when it was just against Joe Biden, it was like a 345 to like 191 or something. It was something crazy. But now with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, it's like this honeymoon phase. It's like this big uprise for Democrats, that she's going to go out of the way and she's going to get 300 easily. And right now, based off of how I'm deciding this and how I think people are going to agree with this is that she still loses, but she doesn't lose as badly as Joe Biden did. It's not a 191 to 345. It's a 307 to 231. It's, it's definitely a lot more closer. Um, I still think Trump's going to get over 300 come this election, and especially with a debate or a vice presidential debate, it could either help or, strengthen a backbone, or it could either hurt and break the backbone of the candidate. Really, for RFK Jr., I heard today he couldn't even get ballots in New York. So I know he has ballots in Texas and a couple of states, like California and a little bit in the West here, but not enough to where he is good electoral vote wise, but popular vote, he's pretty popular. Let's go with that, right? Um, but again, I will always say that if they don't debate, then they don't have a base. Neither of the candidates do. Trump already has the base that he has from being president and debating Joe Biden and winning Biden. But the thing is, he doesn't have a base strong enough against Kamala Harris because there hasn't been a debate. So my whole thing is that if they don't debate, one, it'd be a historical weird thing because I don't remember a time where a candidate hasn't debated anyone, not in my lifetime anyways. um you know and also it's just the whole baseline thing. I'm gonna say this again and again, but you don't debate, you don't have a base, you are anonymous to voters, and people don't know how to decide to vote for you the right way or not. Majority of America here says so, and a little bit up here and a little bit over here. But we're talking about these states, more battleground states here, and more slightly going battle states going, even up here. So that's what I'm going off of. So a debate needs to happen, or a vice presidential debate, needs to happen. I'd like to see, Nicole Shanahan take her, opinion up there, and RFK Jr. especially. Just don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it. But of course, we still have September. We don't know how hectic that's going to be. But of course, if you don't go and vote, it's not like if you don't vote, this could be a very likely statement. But if you do vote, this could be a different statement altogether. So do your part if you're 18 and older and go vote. I won't be able to because I'm 16, turning 17. So I cannot vote yet. But when I do, I'll know who I'm voting for in the next, 4 years from now. I don't know who it's going to even be. But of course, until then, that's really all I have to talk about. If you want to leave your comments and your discussions in the comment section down below, please do so. Like, subscribe. We almost have 500 subs. Thank you all for all the support. I have other channels you could subscribe to in the description down below. But of course, until then, I will see you all in the next political video. Peace out, guys.